material we've used here and redeploy it elsewhere? Or if we can't redeploy it, how do we break it down into benign constituencies so that it doesn't harm the environment? But the best part is to keep all the resources within the loop. That's what our speakers will be talking about today. So, without taking too much time, just to give you a bit of intro as well, the ILO's mandate is to promote social justice through decent work. And we do leverage the circular economy as part of the ways of developing those job opportunities or work opportunities for those which are short-term. So industrial countries, for instance, we are seeing most of the circular economy's activities being capital intensive. But in growing economies such as most of African countries, the potential to create jobs whilst creating these circular economy interventions is quite huge, and this remains an untapped area where I hope our speakers will be telling us about. So we've seen this since the 1950s, and it's not like it's a completely new concept, but it's an old concept. If you look at how nature has been doing it for the past 3.8 billion years, it has always been recycling everything. And everything in nature, the concept of waste in nature does not exist. It's a human construct. In nature, everything is recycled into that circular economy loop. So on that note, I'm going to invite Douglas from the FAO to also come and give his reflections. And then we'll get on to the speakers.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Douglas Magunda. I'm standing here today representing the FAO representative to Ethiopia, who is not able to be here today because of the World Bee Day, which is being celebrated in Jima. Distinguished participants, colleagues from the International Labour Organization, participants from across the region and beyond, ladies and gentlemen. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this important event, co-hosted by the International Labour Organization and FAO as part of the 20th ILO Regional Conference for Labour-Based Practitioners. FAO is proud to partner with its sister agents to explore how circular economy approaches and appropriate technologies can serve as drivers for decent employment, particularly in rural areas where agriculture remains the backbone of livelihoods and decent work. As FAO, we focus on food security, we focus on rural development and environmental sustainability, focusing our work on the agri-food system and its actors. According to the statistical FAO, according to the FAO Statistical Yearbook 2024, in Africa, 2/3 of the population is employed in the agri-food system. Yet much of this employment remains informal, low-paying, and vulnerable to climatic and economic shocks. Meanwhile, as shown by the FAO report, the climate crisis is not affecting people equally. Rural communities, and especially the most vulnerable, as youth and women, face higher challenges, limited prospects in the face of climate change and environmental degradation. We are living in a world where change is the only constant. As we move forward towards more circular and green economic models in agri-food systems, we must ask ourselves, how can we make transitions more fair, resilient, and inclusive? The circular economy is often framed in terms of resource efficiency and innovation, but it must also be about people's livelihoods. Circularity offers opportunities to redesign food systems, reduce waste, and valorize organic byproducts. But more importantly, it can generate green jobs in local food value chains, energy, and waste recovery. This is where appropriate technologies, those that are locally adaptable, low cost, and labor friendly, play a critical role, whether in composting, biofertilizers, or renewable bioenergy. These technologies must be context specific and inclusive, supporting transitions from informal to formal work and from vulnerability to resilience. But transitions are not automatic. In order to look at the adoption of such technologies, we must consider 4 things. 1, inclusive skills development and programs. 2, targeted investments in innovations that supports decent rural employment. 3, policies that recognize and formalize rural and informal work. Mechanisms that enable young people, women, and marginalized groups to actively participate in decision-making and processes. The FAO Green Jobs approach, for instance, reflects this integrated approach. It combines soft skills and technical training, entrepreneurship support, and employment-oriented monetary interventions to support rural youth's future. It helps young people see farming, agri-processing, and natural resource management as viable, meaningful career paths that also care for the environment. When we grew up ourselves in the rural areas, our desire was to run away from the rural areas. We want to change that model to make rural areas fashionable to the young people who are coming up today. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect today on the intersection of labor markets, technology, environmental policy, and rural development, I encourage us to keep the focus on people, on farmers, youth, women, entrepreneurs, and communities. Only then can we shape policies, programs that support a just transition. Thank you to ILO colleagues for their collaboration, and thank you all for your commitment to shaping a better future for Africa rural communities. I thank you.
Thank you. So we are now going to go through the 3 presentations I spoke about earlier. And for the sake of time, I'm going to introduce the speaker as they come up. And then after that, we'll have a panel discussion, and then we'll open it to the floor. So if you've got questions, please note them down. You will be afforded an opportunity to also contribute or ask questions. So first coming up, we're going to have Dr. Christoph Ernst, who is the lead investment sectoral strategies and transitions team. He's from the EMP Invest in ILO, and he's also, I understand, making input on behalf of the collaborating partner FAO, and his topic is on organic waste for the food value chain. So, Christoph, over to you.
Thank you very much. Can we have the presentation? I think we have the presentation. Yes. We heard ILO, we heard FAO, and now this is a joint publication we prepared for this event. It's done by Daniel Epifanio, who is following us online now. So unfortunately he couldn't come, but he's following this, and I present also on his behalf this joint paper from FAO and ILO about organic waste to agri-food value. We look at appropriate technologies for the circular economy and how this contributes to job creation. Let's start a little bit with theory, but then let's go to very practical aspects of it. So first of all, what do we understand about appropriate technology? I think you heard a lot about IMO in French, labor-based, labor-intensive infrastructure. This is a technology choice. It's not capital-intensive, it's labor-intensive. So the technology choice has a lot of influence on the outcome. But let's start before. The development of social capabilities is an engine for productivity growth, decent work, also helping the transition to formality, and also for structural transformation of an economy. But also to get to this development of social capabilities, the technology choices are key. Technology is not just a tool, you know, an adapter, an engine, and all this. It includes skills. It's about processes. It's about output. So technologies should be appropriate, also accessible, labor intensive, energy efficient, resource efficient as well, and locally manageable. So also local traditional technologies. It reflects the cultural, social, and economic realities of every country. So there's no one size fits all. What works in the UK doesn't have to work in Mali. What works in Malawi maybe does not work in Thailand. So it's tailor-made and to specific national and also local context. It is effective when it is linked to inclusive decision-making, so contributing to poverty reduction, social equity. So that's also a process of consultation. In the African agricultural context, and Douglas already mentioned this, we have a lot of underutilized labor force, in particular young people. Lots of people have survival activities in the informal economy. And on the other side, we also have a large amount of underused organic waste, which creates new opportunities also to create jobs, to create income. Yeah? And that's enough about the theory. Let's go a little bit to concrete examples, like Zimbabwe. We have here a project on the oyster mushrooms for climate resilient smallholder businesses. These mushrooms grow in 30 days using low-cost agricultural waste. They have there on the place of straw, cotton, hulls, and which creates then a high in protein, fiber, vitamins. This is ideal meat alternative, these mushrooms, also for the nutrition of the population there. It thrives in varied climates, it's low tech, it's a low land use and low capital intensive type of productive activity, is suited for women, youth, and farmers with limited education. It was founded by 4 Agri graduates. They got a project grant in the Malanderos district, and it's also part of an FAO Green Jobs project. It converts farm waste into 4 to 6 tons of mushrooms per month. So it created maybe not that impressive, but it's a small area for 8 full-time jobs and ongoing youth training hub. It secures a substrate via partnership with farms and cotton process. So there's okay, I forgot to go to the next slide. You cannot see it very well, so maybe you follow my narrative, but you see a little bit the pictures where maybe you can understand how it works. It also provides skills in the production, incubation, sterilization. So it also provides business development. This is a business area also to develop this area. And there also are new projects also to diversify in other types of mushrooms, for example, button mushrooms, and also to have to export this. So that's one example. Going to the next example. This is a scaling of the biochar. This is an interesting agri-waste solution for rural jobs in the case of Namibia this time. So, you know, biochar is a carbon-rich material from organic waste, which enhances soil fertility and supports climate change mitigation by reducing nutrient loss, increasing drought resilience as well, and long-term carbon sequestration through this biochar. There's a production system which ranges from small cook stoves to large pyrolysis plants. So smallholder farmers can use the cook stoves, for example, to produce biochar, and that also contributes to reduce deforestation and also the women-owned firewood collection burden. So it also helps to balance a little bit the gender aspect. It has a series of economic environmental benefits. It may boost farm productivity. It also reduces the fuel gathering time, and also mitigates the environmental risk related. And also it has a positive health impact because the health risk need to be managed with training and protective equipment, which is related to this program. The concrete example is this in Namibia, where the private sector is very much involved through the African Sun Holdings company, which promotes biochar for soil enhancement and climate change mitigation. In this project, it converts the encroacher bush into biochar, generating also the so-called, the carbon removal certificates, CRCs. It's a way also to generate income for the farmers from these CRC cells additionally, while also benefiting from this improved soil health. It's mostly local based, so it contributes to the job creation, especially for women in biomass harvesting and in biochar production, so 2 elements of the value chain. And it complies also, that's what we took care of, it complies to Namibian labor and environmental regulations. And it also promotes a little bit the use of it for small farmers for crop yield improvement to use the biochar. Then it's also, there has community commitment component, so it also contributes to the profits to education for long-term resilience. The next example is the famous black soldier fly. This is a program to convert organic waste into proteins for the fish feed, and that also creates jobs. And this is also an example from Zimbabwe, like the first example. So you have the black soldier flies larvae that turn food and farm waste into affordable high protein fish feed. So you have the organic, they dismantle this organic waste, but you also create these proteins, which is then also to feed also the fish production. So it helps the small scale farmers. They produce tilapia fish to cut the feed cost by using this black soldier fly larvae. It's supported by the Chinhoyi University in Manicaland province in Zimbabwe. On the production side, it produces several tons of dried BSF larvae per month. It also sells the feed at approximately $500 per ton. And employs so it's a focus on young people, 5 young people, mostly women, and other people also in the waste collection. So you have this also the value chain, you have the waste collection, and then also in the processing in producing this. I think I have to come to an end. There are 2 technology effects, 3. So you have the farm enhancing technology effect, where it improves the production at the farm, but also the profit generation effect. If you go further, you export, you trade also the products you have also to other areas, which is, for example, in the case of the mushrooms I explained, but also the capability generating effect. So where you combine the imported technologies and just this, like the black soldier flies, to local and traditional technologies. For example, the black soldier flies is a technology which is spreading throughout Africa recently. So the key factors will influence this transition. This is the skills development for capability development. It's also a question of the scale and the market access, the investment, the policy support. So it also adds value to this process. You don't stay at the beginning of this, so it also adds value, and because it goes into the processing, simple kind of processing. And it also creates a skills development where we also link to keyword support, and grants helps to technology scales and transition to profitable ventures. Just to wrap up, so this is a big opportunity also to use the underutilized labor force and also the underused organic waste which is there, which could be an environmental damage, as Gamma mentioned. So the focus is not on any kind of frontier technology, but we look at what is the appropriate technology in the specific local context in this area to develop capabilities, social capabilities of the people there, of the local communities. And as you can see, this approach can benefit especially smallholder farmers and rural communities and generates jobs. As we said, there's a continuum of different technology effects, like the farm enhancing, the income enhancing, the capability enhancing effect. And it has a high potential to scale it up and to make it sustainable depending on the market conditions. Also very important, the supportive policies, ILO and FAO is trying to support also national or local authorities. Also, it's very important to have the access to finance to do this. And it's also very important the collaboration among different stakeholders at the national level. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you, Christophe. I think we're getting into the real meat here. Oh, I'm sure some people were vegetarians. I don't know. Vegetarians, what do you get into? If you're not getting into meat, for a vegetarian, you get into what? Cabbage or salad. Okay, we're getting into real meat and real salad here. My apologies if those are not appropriate examples. I'm just trying. But one thing I can take away here, I'll give you an example. I was once in a country which imports eggs from South Africa. I was talking to a young man. We were passing an abattoir. There was rotten meat there. And it was stinking. There were flies there. And this young man was telling me that he can't find a job. And then later on, we were having drinks. And that's when I discovered that they are importing eggs from South Africa. I said, why don't you have your own chickens? And they said, oh, the chicken feed is too expensive in our own country. So we have to import eggs from South Africa. And I was like, but we just passed that abattoir there with rotten meat. Why, have you ever thought maybe you could use that to attract flies to put in their maggots and harvest maggots? And it's very rich in protein, and you could use it as your chicken feed. So I hope the young man started a business there, because you could see the beginning of a circular economy here beginning to manifest there. On that note, let me just call upon our next speaker then, who is Shad Bubeka, and he's the focal point, ILO focal point for Tunisia. He's going to be giving us his presentation on reforestation, circular economy, and employment in Tunisia. So, Shad, over to you.
Good morning, colleagues. Can I have the presentation? The presentation, please.
Okay, whilst they are sorting out the technology, I have an announcement to make. I understand some of you went to the ILO exhibition stand yesterday or the day before, and you ordered some books or documents which were not available at the time. I'm informed those documents are now available. So I encourage you to go back to the ILO stand and collect those documents for those interested. Even if you didn't go there before, you might pick yourself an interesting copy of some of these documents. All right, so how are we doing with technology? Otherwise, we'll ask someone to tell us some circular economy jokes here. We're good? Okay, we're rolling.
Thank you, Gama. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, participants. So, thank you, Christophe, for offering me the possibility to share with you 3 examples coming from Tunisia. I start by explaining why we propose to speak about circular economy and forest. Tunisia, we have inside forest area 1.2 million people who are living inside this forest. Interaction between nature and human have big consequence on the equilibrium of the nature. So we need to propose some solution to resolve the negative impact on this fragile ecosystem. I go directly based on the presentation of Christophe, who give us a definition of appropriate technology. I would like to share with you this slide just to explain what the criteria that we use for choosing the appropriate technology. I start by sharing with you our definition of local and community technology. Local or community technology are process and technique developed by local population or community and using locally available know-how, practice, material, and natural resource. This technology which foster innovation and intensively utilize local resource have a significant impact on job creation and income for local population. It's our national definition, Tunisian national definition of local and community technology. For the criteria that we use to choose appropriate technology, we have 5 criteria. The first one are local opportunity offered with real potential, replicable on larger scales, availability of local materials, local know-how, availability of labor, cost impact ratio, and acceptability is the first criteria that we use to select the appropriate technology. The second one are labor intensity, technology capable of creating a large number of jobs due to its intrinsic characteristic, material, and implementation process. The third criteria is direct and indirect environmental impact. The fourth one is easy implementation. Technology does not require the use of extensive machinery or highly skilled specialized labor. The fifth one are societal and institutional acceptability from a qualitative and aesthetic perspective, from a standard and procurement procedure perspective in the country. The criteria, if you feel inside these 5 criteria, we are more focused on human aspect and human acceptability of the technology that we propose and will use. So I'll go directly to present, I will share with you the first example. The first example is about elimination and controlled dumping of household waste and recycling forest municipality. I don't give a lot of time to explain this. It needs too much time to share with you our observation, but I go to another small example who are directly linked to people who are living inside the municipality. And the example that I will share with you is of this young guy who are living inside this village, inside the municipality of Hama Bourguiba. His primary activity are collection and commercialization of solid waste. With Christophe, we say already organic waste. Here we would like to discuss about other solid waste. Plastic, metal, glasses. Temporary land use permit. What we give him as support under our project, we discuss with the national authority to share with him, to give him the authorization to have a land inside the forestry area to exercise his activity. We give him also training and some support grant to have additional equipment that he can help him to develop his business. After that, we are working with him for the formalization of his business, and we finish by provision of complementarity equipment, including hydraulic baling press to compress plastic waste. The direct impact. The direct impact of this intervention on 1 year, it's at last year's 2025. He created immediately 53 post job. 3 permanent jobs, and 50 indirect jobs. For the quantity of waste that he recycling, 16.5 tons of plastic bottles, 6.5 tons of aluminium, and 1 ton of plastic film and tank. For his annual income is around $12,000. So if we would like to have a direct impact, it's not needed a lot of money to invest, but to have just a good linkage between what we have in the field in this village, forestry village, and the other opportunity that we have in this forestry. If you would like to have better information, you have this QR code, and you can have access to all the details about this example. The second one is in Tunisia we have a big annual problem is the forest fire. Forest fire cause a big damage on forestry area, and we try to find or to create some opportunity for local community who are living inside the forestry area. So the main product that we obtain after the cleaning of the area who are suffering from forest fire, we have pallet manufacturing, character production, and wood shot. But also we add another kind of intervention or another kind of local product linked mainly to handicraft. So this kind of activity after forest fire can help people or local community living inside forestry to have additional income to compensate what they already lost after the fire. The third one, or the third example that we have, that I would like to share with you, is about wastewater treatment in forest village. We have established, or we are doing establishing the first station of treatment of water using, and after this is new technology was developed in Canada and Portugal, and it's based only on coconut for the third treatment of water. The direct impact of this intervention is to develop all different kinds of agroforestry activity for local population. That's a kind of expected impact after when we finish the installation of this water use station. We are working already on how to promote food security for local community who are living inside this forestry area. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Shad. So that was the second presentation. We are now going to the final presentation, and then we will have a panel discussion. Our next presenter is Reina Kuwashima, who is the Junior Professional Officer at the ILO headquarters, and she will be sharing on the circular economy and labor-intensive methods. Over to you, Reina.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Reina Kuwashima from the ILO Geneva headquarters. It's a great pleasure to be here today to share some key findings from our work on focus on how appropriate technologies contribute to circular economy goals and inclusive job creation, operate in EIIP. In our work, appropriate technologies are not just about being cheap or easy to use. They're about being the right fit, technically, socially, and economically. They are employment intensive, small scale, and locally adaptable. They aim to maximize social, environmental, and economic benefits. That means the technology must suit the local context, available resources, skills, and climate. It should create jobs and help communities build lasting skills. And at the same time, it must meet engineering and safety standards because we need infrastructure that lasts. Affordability is also a key, not just the upfront cost, but the cost over the full life cycle. And finally, it must be maintainable by the people who use it. If it breaks and no one can fix it, it's not appropriate at all. So for us, appropriate means much more than the law tag. It means smart, inclusive, and sustainable. Choosing the right technology is critical because it shapes the outcome of infrastructure projects in many ways. It affects how cost-effective a project is, not only at the time of construction, but over the entire life cycle. A poorly chosen technology may lead to higher maintenance costs later on. And it also influences how labor-intensive the project will be and what kinds of skills are needed. This is especially relevant for EIIP, where job creation and local capacity building are key objectives. And technology selection determines how environmentally sound our infrastructure will be. It affects resilience to climate risks and how much waste is produced. It also has institutional implications. Some technologies require complex systems for maintenance, while others can be managed locally with basic training. And finally, the selected technology must align with purpose of the infrastructure and fit local conditions, such as terrain, climate, and available materials. So in short, technology is not just a technical detail. It is the strategic choice that affects cost, quality, employment, and sustainability. Okay. So when we select a technology in EIIP, we don't just ask what works. We ask what works here for the people, for the environment, and for the long term. That's why we use multi-criteria approach. We consider the purpose of the infrastructure, the quality and safety standards needed, and whether institutions and communities have the capacity to implement and maintain it. So we also look at the terrain, the climate, and what resources are locally available. Labor intensity materials matters too, because job creation is one of our key goals. So we ask, is this something that can be scaled? Is it financially sustainable? Or can local people keep it running? We also assess social acceptance. Even the most efficient solutions will fail if people do not want it or cannot maintain it. So in short, appropriate technology is not chosen by cost alone. It's chosen by how well it fits the concept and how well it can last and benefit people over time. So in EIIP, appropriate technologies are not only technically sound, they're also scalable, inclusive, and cost-effective. Out of 130 technologies identified, and 86% are actually used in practice in EIIP. This shows that what we call appropriate is also realistic and implementable. And compared to mechanized methods, our approaches created 2 to 4 times more direct jobs and 1.5 to 3 times more indirect jobs. And this supports both local economy and skills development. And around 50% of technologies are emerging or re-emerging, and 94% of them have already been adopted in EIIP. Importantly, 80% of the technologies are rated as highly or moderately sustainable. And nature-based solutions are also a key part, and 60% of identified technologies are nature-based, and 94% of these were used. So for example, soil-based stabilization or the use of local plants for erosion control. So finally, these approaches are affordable and they save 10 to 50% in cost compared to equipment-heavy methods, whilst creating jobs and protecting the environment. In EIIP, we use supporting tools to improve project quality and efficiency, but without replacing the labor. To start with the equipment, In some cases, manual labor alone will not be sufficient, especially for tasks such as water pumping or soil compaction. And in such situations, simple machines such as motorized pumps, solar-powered tools, or compactors can be introduced as well. And these tools are low cost, locally maintainable, and help keep projects deliverable efficiently without replacing labor. And digital technologies also play an important role. Tools like GIS, drones, and e-learning help us plan better and make decisions faster and reduce mistakes. And they also allow communities to participate more actively, and they make our work more adaptable to different settings. And out of 14 supporting equipment tools identified, and 12 have already been adopted in EIIP. And for digital tools, 13 out of 15 are in use. And this shows that EIIP is embracing innovation, but in a way that keeps workers at the center. Low volume roads are a key area for applying appropriate technologies within EIIP. Technology selection for rural roads is guided by 5 core considerations. So first, environmental conditions must be assessed. Terrain, rainfall, soil quality, and expected traffic volumes all play a role. Second, ensuring year-round access is essential. Roads should be durable and reliable across seasons. Third, alignment with local resources is prioritized. Technologies must match available materials, labor skills, and maintenance capacities. Fourth, a balanced approach to labor and equipment is emphasized. Labor-intensive methods are preferred, but light equipment may be used where manual work is not sufficient. And finally, cost efficiency over the full life cycle is critical. And initial costs matter, but so do long-term maintenance and performance. This combination of factors makes low-volume roads a practical and strategic sector for demonstrating how employment, sustainability, and resilience can be achieved together. Sierra Leone here offers a powerful example of how appropriate technologies can support circular and inclusive development. In 2021, the Opportunity Salona program has combined labor-based infrastructure with agro-processing and resource reuse. And this approach begins with the feeder roads built using compacted gravel, stone paving, and hand-dug drains. And machinery use is minimized, and local SMEs are trained to maintain the roads. And notably, 32% of workers were women, highlighting the program's inclusive and employment impact. And next, market-linked processing technologies are used for cassava and palm oil. For example, a hand-operated palm kernel press reduces both labor and water use. Drying houses for onions are built using local materials. And these solutions increase productivity and strengthen value chains. And then waste from processing stage, like cassava peels, is transformed into biomass briquettes and organic liquid fertilizers. And these innovations close resource loops, reduce waste, and regenerate soil health, and in line with circular economy principles. And finally, the model promotes long-term rural empowerment. Jobs are created along the entire chain, local entrepreneurship is encouraged, and rural economy becomes more resilient. And this case illustrates how appropriate technologies can help build localized circular ecosystems, linking infrastructure, value addition, waste reuse, and inclusive economic transformation. So to conclude, appropriate technologies are at the heart of EIIP's circular, inclusive, and employment-rich approach. And these technologies promote a development that reduces external dependence by maximizing the use of local labor, materials, and knowledge. A structured, multi-criteria selection process ensures that technology are not only technically and economically sound, but also socially accepted and environmentally aligned. Compared to mechanized approaches, EIIP methods generate significantly more jobs, 2 to 4 times more direct employment, and up to 3 times more in direct jobs. And this contributes to local skills and stronger community economies. And supporting tools like digital technologies such as pumps, drones, and learning platforms help improve quality and delivery without replacing the labor. And this balance is the key to inclusive outcomes. And many appropriate technologies also reflect circular economy principles. Reusing materials, applying organic fertilizers, and enabling infrastructure repair at local level, these could help closer resource loops. And to scale these efforts, continued investment in knowledge exchange, capacity building, and supportive policies will be essential. And as we have seen throughout this presentation, appropriate technologies are not just about tools. They are about systems that empower people, sustain resources, and build resilient future. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. So we're going to be wrapping up at 9:30 sharp, but Raina, please prepare. You are going to be asking each of the participants one question, and I'll request them to give very concise answers, 1 minute each to answer those questions. Whilst you are looking at your questions, I just want to acknowledge that in the presence we're honored to be having the presence of the Minister of State and Infrastructure and Urban Development for Ethiopia. And I hope that colleagues who are writing the resolutions, they will hopefully recommend that circularity is one of the things that we need to begin to embed in our procurement systems. And talking about taking action, yesterday I was in a bus, the minister came asking to check if everything was okay, and one participant said, my window in the bus is very dirty, I won't be able to take pictures. And the minister stepped out. Within a minute, I saw someone cleaning that window. That's what I call taking action, colleagues. On that note, Raina, please, can you come and ask the questions so that we can close on time?
Thank you, Rama. And I hope we could open to the floor, but as our time is limited, we will start with one guided question per panelist, and then, and we only have 5 minutes, so please keep it short. So I would like to first ask to Jad, and thank you again for your presentation. You mentioned several innovations, from plastic waste units to waste, water reuse, and agroforestry. And one thing that sounded out to me was your slide on the